Good evening. Welcome to this today's session. This is session number 5. So as you know, we are splitting every session in two parts, A and B. Correct. So basically today we can say is 5A and tomorrow will be 5B. What are the contents that are to be discussed today? Those contents are basically, see this. On the day one, we had discussed that in each session we'll be doing what? So basics of GST, one. Secondly, valuation under GST, but of course excluding the rules part. Why you know? Because rules part are given to you on the drive. I want each and every student to do the rule part correctly and very much in depth. So even for revision batch students, rule part is given on the drive. Okay, so please do that GST valuation rules from the Google Drive video. Yes. So where it is in the Zest must do's. If you go in the revision batch folder, you will be having A for amendments, R for revision batch, and T for tables and charts. And lastly, Zest must do's. In that Zest must do's, we have put this. And no problem with the main batch. In the main batch, so we have done this. Yes. So in the revision batch in this session 5, basics of GST, place of supply, we will do, correct? Scope of supply and exemptions under GST, again given to you in the ZEST must do's, because I can see that weightage for that in new syllabus last time was about 15 marks and in old syllabus was 5 marks. So, and before that exam before that in the old syllabus its weightage was 10 to 12 marks. So they're asking good number of questions on that exemptions under GST. So please do it also from ZEST must do's, the folder. So what happens? That's why it becomes possible to cover this batch in this limited 8 sessions. And then time of supply. Yes, we will revise time of supply. So that is the agenda for, I would say, session number 5, which will be divided between today and tomorrow. So shall we go ahead with today's session? See, lot of things you are going to understand, and tomorrow I will, after tomorrow's session, I will share this Excel sheet also with you all. Yes, listen, section wise index of GST. So all our students know GST section wise, correct? Right from section 7 till all the relevant sections you know. So I'm just going to minimize this Excel sheet and ask you the sections. Okay. It starts, relevant things starts with basically section 7. Correct. What is section 7? Let me see who all can answer quickly. It is scope of supply. So what is supply, what is not supply is all discussed in section 7. Section 8 is taxability of composite supply and mixed supply. Section 9 is levy and collection. Section 10 is composition levy. Okay. So there is this alternative scheme in GST where, you know, registered persons can pay tax at a concessional rate. That is composition levy. Section 11 is exemptions under GST. Then 12, 13, 14. All these three deal with time of supply. 15 is valuation under GST. 16 to 20 is input tax credit. Yes. 16 is eligibility and conditions for availing ITC. 17 is apportionment and block credits, in which block credit is 17 subsection 5, apportionment is 17 1 2 3 4. Yes. 18 is ITC in special circumstances. 19 is ITC in case of job work. And 20 is, 20 is input service distributor. Then important ones are 22 to 30. 22 to 30 are about registration under GST. Okay. In which 22 and 24, 22 talks about cases, persons liable for GST, and 24 talks about cases where registration is mandatory under GST. And then we talk about 23. 23 says exemption from registration. 25 procedures for registration. 26 deemed registration. 27 special provisions for casual taxable person and non-resident taxable person. 28 amendment of registration. 29 cancellation or suspension of registration. And 30 is your revocation of cancellation. So this is about registration provisions. Then 31 and 34 are documents under GST. 31 is documents like tax invoice, okay, then revised invoice, advance voucher, for advance, uh, receipt voucher, refund voucher, payment voucher, bill of supply. All this is discussed in section 31. And 34 talks about debit note and credit note. So these are the relevant sections which you should know number wise. Apart from that, 49.5 you should know. What is 49.5? 49.5 is utilization of input tax credit to pay output tax. Correct. So it is related to payment. And then filing of returns, you should know the form numbers. We are going to see that in due course of time in the revision batch also. Form numbers and due dates you should know. Okay, it's okay even if you don't know the section numbers. And then what you should do is assessments under GST. So there is a self-assessment, scrutiny, then best judgment assessments, provisional assessment, summary assessment. These type of assessments you should know. And then you should be aware about two types of audits. One is the uh, general audit and one is the special audit. And another is the audit which is based on turnover. So if turnover exceeds a particular amount, then it is mandatory to get accounts audited. Yes, under GST. That is basically given in section 35. Read with relevant rule. So all this you should understand under GST. Not only that, section 73, section 74, which talks about recovery, and it talks about basically how to demand GST. So it is for officer to demand GST, and if there is fraud is involved, then section 74 notice is required. If fraud is not involved, then section 73 notice is required. Time limits are given in this 73, 74. Not only that, how much penalty can be charged is also given. Then, meanwhile, also interest on delay in payment of GST, which I forgot to tell you, it is given in section 50. That interest for delay in payment of GST is 18% per annum. And if any type of fraud is involved, rather than fraud, I would say if unnecessarily ITC is claimed, then it is 24%. Perfect. Then 51 also I should have told you is about TDS, and 52 is about TCS. 54 is about refunds. So yes, meanwhile, you have to do them also if I talk about section-wise index of GST. Then you should do advance ruling provisions. Okay. And then miscellaneous provisions under GST. This is all about input CGST Act. Then you should do entire GST compensation to state act. Then it is okay even if you don't do separately UTGST Act. And then you should do some specific provisions of IGST Act. Which are the provisions of IGST Act that you should do? Basically, we should refer to IGST Act for 1716. No. What I'm saying is why you should refer to IGST Act for place of supply. Exactly. So place of supply is given in 10, 11, 12, 13. 10, 11 is place of supply of goods. 12, 13 is place of supply of services. Correct? So we are going to do all these things. And then even 16 you should do, which is zero rated supply. Section 16 of IGST Act I'm talking about. Okay. Though we know Section 5 of IGST Act is for levy and collection, no need to do it separately. Section 7, is for interstate supply. Section 8 is for intrastate supply. But no need to know the section numbers as such. Okay. So keep all these things in mind, and keeping these things in mind, we will step by step go ahead and study this GST from the easy made notes. Okay. So all these sections I have also given you here. You will be getting this updated Excel sheet tomorrow after 5th session completes. Section 9 of CGST Act. It is levy and collection. Why we should know this? Okay, so I'm not going to go through the basic points, but you should understand that on what GST is not charged for time being. So for time being or temporarily, GST is not charged on these 5 fuels. Permanently, what is kept out of GST? Permanently, the goods which are kept out of GST is alcoholic liquor for human consumption. You are well aware about that, isn't it? Okay. So alcoholic liquor for human consumption is permanently kept out of GST. Then you should understand that GST will be at percentage notified by government on recommendation of council. Are you getting the point? That means whether rate of GST will be given in the act? No. But does act give the maximum rate of GST? Yes. According to act, maximum rate of CGST is 20%. So maximum rate of IGST is 40%. Okay. But within this maximum rate, government has to notify. So rates of GST are as notified by central government on recommendation of council. Is the point clear to all of you? Yes. Then a value of any supply will be calculated as per section 15 of CGST Act. Okay. And who will be made liable to pay GST to the government? Who will be made liable to pay GST to the government? The supplier. But burden will be always on whom? Burden will be always on end consumer. Okay. So all those things I have given you here systematically. And subsection 2, though we have seen, subsection 3 and 4 talk about reverse charge mechanism. So what is the meaning of reverse charge mechanism? Under reverse charge mechanism, who is liable to pay GST? It is not the supplier, but it is recipient of supply who is liable to pay GST. Very good. So is reverse charge mechanism only in selected cases? Absolutely yes. Reverse charge mechanism is only in notified cases. Yes. And for that, I have explained you here meaning of forward charge mechanism. So in 99.99% of the transaction, we have forward charge mechanism, isn't it? I told you a lot of examples that you go to theater to watch movie. Then who is liable to pay GST to the government? You as an audience or theater? Nini, Asmita, when you are saying that we are liable, what you say is burden is on you. Of course, burden is on you. But do you go to government and pay that GST? You don't go to government and pay that GST. You pay to the theater owner, and theater owner pays it to the government. Is the point clear? Yes. Very good. Fantastic. Got it, na? So that's what I'm talking about. So it is called as forward charge mechanism. So forward charge mechanism means supplier is liable to pay GST. That is called as forward charge mechanism. Supplier is liable to pay GST to the government. See, always final burden is going to come on whom? Always final burden is going to come on consumer. There is no second opinion about that. But when we are talking about charge, we are saying that who is liable to pay it to the government. Is the point clear, Payal? Yes. Now, my point is, RCM is only notified cases. Clear? So I have given you one example of RCM here of LIC agent giving a service to LIC of India. So if in this case RCM is notified, then who is liable to pay GST? If RCM is notified, then recipient of supply is liable to pay GST, isn't it? Yes. And one more example I will give you, that is one director is there who is giving a supply of some professional service to the company. If this is also notified for the purpose of RCM, then who is liable to pay GST? Company, exactly, as a recipient of supply. This is called as reverse charge mechanism. Okay. Then some transaction I have given you. You can go through that. 9 subsection 5. What is 9 subsection 5? 9 subsection 5 is liability of e-commerce operator to pay GST. 9 subsection 5 is liability of e-commerce operator to pay GST. You tell me whether this liability of ECO to pay GST is in every case or notified cases. Means what happens when certain notified services are supplied through e-commerce operator, then service provider will not pay GST. Then service provider will not pay GST. Who will pay GST? Yes, the e-commerce operator will pay the GST. Correct. Neither supplier nor recipient of supply. The liability fall on the e-commerce operator. Is the point very clear? Yes. So there are these 3 notified services. One, which are the 3 notified services? One is cab service. Second is accommodation service. But accommodation service provided by whom? Accommodation service provided by unregistered persons, and housekeeping services provided by unregistered persons. So what 3 examples I gave you? 3 examples which I had given you was Ola, Oyo, and Urban Company. Is the point very clear? So only above 3 services are notified, nothing else. Okay. Clear? Shall we go ahead? You know that if that e-commerce operator does not have physical office in India, then who will be liable to pay? Then it will be representative of that e-commerce operator who will be liable to pay GST in India. But what if e-commerce operator does not have representative in India? Then it is required to appoint a person in India for the purpose of paying tax. So strict government is behaving. Getting the point? Yes. What about other services through e-commerce operator? No, they are not notified. Kishan, they are not notified. Only 3 services are notified. So if any other services through e-commerce operator, who will be liable to pay GST? The supplier will be liable to pay GST. Got it? Fantastic, fantastic. So don't bring other services supplied through ECO in this. Correct? Yes, fantastic. Now, a few points which I want to ask you is, because in CA final such question has been asked. Anyways, I have put that question in the Taxman Cracker, but I will just like to verbally ask you the question that there is one cab driver. That cab driver is listed with the e-commerce operator, and that cab driver gives the service to passenger, okay, which is an interstate supply. So who will be liable to pay GST? Who will be liable to pay? Exactly, e-commerce operator will be liable to pay GST. As per which section? My dear friends, understand, not 9(5). That's why I asked you, actually 5(5). Muskan, from where 24 comes in picture? No, not as per 9(5), but as per section 5, subsection 5 of IGST Act. Getting the point? Now 5 is the, what you can say, levy and collection section of IGST. Yes. So if there is an interstate supply, then according to, which section it will be taxable? It will be taxable as per section 5, isn't it? So reverse charge mechanism in interstate supply will be according to which section? Subsection. Which section, subsection? RCM. No. I'm talking about Suraksha and Priyanka and Nishi. Wait. I'm talking about RCM. 5(3). Perfect. Apply the logic now. RCM is which subsection? 3. And RCM in IGST will be 5 subsection 3. Yes. ECO in IGST will be 5 subsection 5. I hope you got it. And someone had put some doubt. Sorry, that missed out. Wait, I'm just scrolling back to check that doubt. But ECO will collect from customer, right? Fantastic. Purushottam, always and always, the burden is on, you have to just keep one thing in mind. Burden is on end consumer. Yes. So yes, finally, whosoever is liable to pay to the government, he will finally collect from recipient of supply, isn't it? So I had told you in the class that observe Ola's bill. Even if Ola is liable to pay to government, Ola will of course collect from end consumer. Yes, very good. So you had seen that invoice. That invoice had GST. Yes, let's go ahead now. 15, section 15, valuation. So I told you that valuation you have to do, valuation rules you have to do from that folder of Zest must do's, even the revision batch students. Okay, because last time I observed that 20 marks was valuation in the exam. I have analyzed that in the paper also, in the YouTube video also. And you can check new syllabus YouTube video also of the paper. There was about 10 marks of valuation. So if valuation is so important, I thought let revision batch students also do from the main batch lectures. Getting it? But in the folder, I have given you only GST valuation with respect to rules involved. So we should understand the basic valuation here in the revision batch. Okay. 15 section talks about valuation. How many subsections are there in 15? In 15, there are 5 subsections. Yes. 15.1 talks about assessable value is equal to transaction value. Correct or not? Even if we minimize this, we can quickly revise. 15.1 talks about AV is equal to TV. Okay. Where transaction value is nothing but price actually paid or payable for supply of goods or services or both. Where supplier and recipient of supply are not related and price is the sole consideration for the supply. Sole means only consideration for the supply. My simple question to you is, if AV cannot be taken as TV, then valuation will be according to what? Very good. Then valuation will be according to rules. But section 15, subsection 4, read with rules. Getting it? So that I'm asking you to do from the recorded lectures. So right now we are revising 15.1. Right now, we are revising 15.1. Yes or no? 15.2 and 15.3. 15.1 is what? Accessible value is equal to transaction value. 15.2 is what? Inclusions. And 15.3 is what? Exclusions. Now, do you know how many inclusions are there? There are 5 inclusions. Clause A, Clause B, Clause C, Clause D, Clause E. Correct? So each of our student knows with alphabetical sequence of the clause what they stand for. So A stands for inclusion of any tax other than GST. B stands for any expense incurred by recipient of supply on behalf of supplier. C stands for what? Incidental expenses. D stands for any what? Interest. Very good. Interest, penalty, late fees, which are paid by recipient of supply to the supplier because he makes a delay in payment. And E stands for subsidy. But which subsidy? Other than government subsidy. Very good. Are all the points very clear to all of you? Yes, very good. Then subsection 3 is for what? Subsection 3 is for discount. Which discount? There are two possibilities. Discount which is given before or at the time of supply, and discount which is given after supply. Correct. So can both the discounts be deducted? Yes, absolutely both the discounts can be deducted, but subject to satisfaction of conditions. So in 15 subsection 3, discount which is given before or at the time of supply, only condition is that it should be recorded in the invoice. And the discount which is given after supply, there are 3 conditions. The 3 conditions are that it should be, as per the terms and conditions at the time of supply. Then it should be, no, not linked to the price. The discount given should be linked to the invoice. So there could be multiple sales I have done to my customer, but exactly against which invoice I am giving discount, that should be known. That is what is the meaning of discount should be related to the invoice. And last condition is that most important one, input tax credit attributable to the discount amount should be, yes, should be reduced. ITC should be reduced by the recipient of supply. So when he reduces ITC, then only I can reduce my output tax on that discount. Getting the point? So these are the conditions. Now I'm interested in its practical applications. So I'm going to revise with you 2 questions. Otherwise, all these points I have mentioned here, you can go through them with one small example. Okay. So these notes you are going to find very helpful for one day before the exam. Wherever you want to revise any point, you can quickly revise through these notes. Okay. Now see. Okay, subsidies point I have discussed, but with that, this in detail, what Yogita totally depends on you, whether you should write the notes or print the notes. Or third option is also available. Keep it in the soft copy only. Howsoever you are comfortable, because it all depends on how many modules one has to give. If one has only tax module remaining and has sufficient time, then he can write. If one has all the modules to do, then you can keep it in the electronic form or you can get them printed. Okay. So it all depends on you. So all these conditions and all also have given you. So whatever I discussed with you now, all is written here. Okay. See this question. I'm interested in this question. This is from CA final module. Okay, so not my creativity, but it is from CA final module. SA Limited is manufacturer of biscuits. Okay, the price of 200 grams of biscuit sold by SA Limited is rupees 30. It has received subsidy of 5 per pack of biscuits sold from NM Limited as a part of NM Limited CSR activity. SA Limited supplied 1,000 biscuits, packs of biscuits at 25 per pack to one of its wholesaler named MA Private Limited during a tax period. Tax period is usually 1 month. Loading charges of 1200 have been charged separately from MA Private Limited. MA Private Limited delayed the payment of consideration and thus paid 5,000 as interest. No separate amount of GST is paid on interest by MA Private Limited in the next period. Assume rate of GST to be 18% and determine value of taxable supply made by SA Limited. Okay, purposefully taking this question because you know all the inclusions now, all the exclusions now. Now, how exactly to apply them? So, my dear friends, in this question, what is the TV? Means what is the basic selling price? 30. Very good. So, how many packs are sold of 30? 30 into 1,000. So, 30,000. Can the starting point be 30,000? Yes. Starting point can be 30,000. Now, listen carefully. It has received subsidy of 5 per pack of biscuits sold from NM Limited as a part of NM Limited CSR activity. SA Limited supplied 1,000 packs of biscuits at rupees 25 per pack to one of its wholesaler named MA Private Limited during tax period. Now I want to know from you whether this subsidy should be included or excluded. This should be a thought process. Included. Very good. Why included? Because it is other than government subsidy. Correct, na? So included. And tell me, so you should take selling price as 30 or 25. That is my question. This is the problem, my dear friends. My dear friends, this is the problem. I am asking you that what should be the transaction value? Selling price means I am asking you indirectly, what should be the transaction value? 30 or 25? If you say 20, means on what amount GST should be charged? See, Sonia, if you're saying 5,000 should be added, if you're taking starting point as 25,000, then 5,000 should be added. Getting it? But if you're taking starting point as 30,000, then if you're taking starting point as 30,000, then do nothing. Very good. Then do nothing. I hope you got it. So way of giving data, my dear friends, way of giving data. Yes. If in this question only 25 is given and they tell you this 25 is after subsidy of 5, then you will do 25 plus 5. Getting it? But if they are telling you that selling price is 30, but after subsidy it was 25, so you should continue with 30, isn't it? Clear now, all of you? Very good. Very good. Loading charges of 1200. What will you do with loading charges of 1200? Inclusion or exclusion? Inclusion. And inclusion because of 15, section 15, subsection 2, clause C. But mind you, they have been charged separately. They have been charged separately means over and above the amount charged. So you will have to specifically add, isn't it? Very good. If they were already included in 30,000, then if they were already included in 30,000, then nothing. Fantastic. This is what you should understand. And last point is, Okay, good. Uh, MA Private Limited delayed the consideration and thus paid 5,000 as interest. So what will you do with interest? Include or exclude? Include. So what you should do? You should add. Fantastic. Now, my dear friends, here small thing is no separate, Kishan, no separate amount of GST is paid on the interest. So don't you think that interest amount of 5,000 Payal is including GST? So what will you do? If interest amount of 5,000 is including GST of 18%, can you afford to add full 5,000? Yes, you will not take with full 5,000. You do 5,000 is equal to 118. So what is 100? So 5,000 into 100 divided by 118. You know 5,000 is equal to 118. So 100 is how much? 4237. Got the point? Check. If you start with 25,000, you will add 5,000. If you directly start with 30,000, no problem. Then you add loading charges 1,200, add interest for delayed payment. So final answer will be 35,437. Is it absolutely clear to all of you? Yes. Very good. Fantastic. Now, listen to me properly. I will not be surprised if in exam they ask you this question as it is without changing figures. Okay, that is the trend of the examiner to ask some questions from CA final module or CA final RTP or CA final mock test paper or main CA final paper, past paper, isn't it? So students every time ask me that how come the sums which you cover are asked in the exam as it is. So you know they are from some other institute's material or some good reference books, correct? Or sometimes a question is made which becomes a reference, isn't it? Chalo. So will you be able to handle such question? Yes. Shall we go ahead? Yes. Fantastic. See this question. BW Limited manufactures some goods. It has provided following particulars relating to goods sold by it to CF Limited. Price of the goods. How is it given? Excluding taxes, duties and discount. Excise duty. What will you do with excise duty? Include or exclude? Include. So you will have to add because given price is excluding excise duty. Packing charges. What will you do with packing charges? Packing charges will also be included being incidental to the incidental expenses. So add. Freight. What will you do with freight? You will include. So add it. Okay. Total amount billed to CF Limited before any discount is 69,600. Discount at 2% of price of goods is recorded in the invoice. Means this discount is given. Yes or no? So final amount charged from CF Limited is 69,600 less 2% discount. So can you tell me? You will have to deduct discount. Yes. So deduct it and check. Mind you, my dear friends, it is less 2%, but 2% of what? 2% of price of goods. Price of goods is 60,000. Don't unnecessarily lose marks because of this clause. So take on your calci 69,600 minus 1,200. Are you getting it? 68,400 as the final answer. Yes. And exactly the presentation should be like this, including the notes. So I hope in the revision batch, there's no need to read the notes. You can manage them. Yes. Very good. Very good. Shall we go ahead? Are you getting grip on this? Now my rule 27 to 35 to be dealt from recorded sessions for revision batch students. Okay, it's given in the art best must do's folder. Okay, and as far as main batch students are concerned, do the entire notebook systematically for 27 to 35 because you have already done it in the main batch. And Payal, you are for CA intermediate, you don't do it at all. It is there directly at CA final level. Okay. Now, 15.5 is nothing but a government will determine value for certain goods or services in the rules. Government will determine value for certain goods or services in the rules. Now, for which goods or services that they will notify. Is the point clear? So nothing much to do with this 15 subsection 5. Yes. Now we are going to revise in next today's part, time of supply. So where is time of supply given? Time of supply is given in section 12, 13, 14. Clear? Yes. Understand step by step. 12 is time of supply of goods. 13 is time of supply of services. And 14 is time of supply of both goods services, but where there is change in the rate of GST. Yes. So let's discuss them step by step. Section 12 and 13 both have how many subsections? Both have 6 subsections. What they deal with? Let's minimize and revise. 1 deals with introduction, 2 deals with forward charge, 3 deals with reverse charge, 4 deals with voucher, 5 deals with residuary, 6 deals with interest or additional consideration by way of late fees, interest, etc. Okay, so let us first do away with the those sections which have common provisions, those subsections which have common provisions. So one is introduction. With respect to one, we should not do anything. With respect to two, what is two? Two is forward charge mechanism. 3 reverse charge. 2 and 3 have different provisions in section 12 and section 13. What is subsection 4? Vouchers. Nishi, if at the time of issue of voucher, supply is identifiable, not identical, identifiable. Yes or no, Snehita? Identifiable means Crossword stores sells a voucher which can be redeemed only and only against books. So is the supply identifiable at the time of issue of voucher? Yes or no? Crossword is issuing a voucher which can be redeemed only against supply of books and nothing else. So yes, supply is identifiable at the time of issue of voucher. So time of supply will be date of issue of voucher. Yes, very good. And if supply is not identifiable at the time of issue of voucher, then time of supply is date of redemption of voucher. Example, in Shopper Stop issues a voucher. Okay, Shopper Stop issues a voucher which can be redeemed against any of the goods in their shop. So what is the time of supply? So time of supply is date of redemption of voucher. Fantastic. Did you get the points? Yes. Now listen. Subsection 5 is residuary, you revise it. And subsection 6 is additional consideration by way of interest or late fees. So what happens when additional consideration is received? It is, time of supply will become the date when you receive this additional consideration. Isn't it? Very good. Very good. Fantastic. Now, let us focus on subsection 2. Subsection 2 is what? It is forward charge mechanism. If we talk about subsection 2 for goods, then we are talking about section 12, subsection 2. Isn't it? Yes. Today, I sold you this mouse. There's a mouse in my hand. Today, I sold you this mouse. That is on 14th May. Okay. But today I sold means what? Our agreement took place. But I dispatched these goods to you on 20 May. These goods reached to you on 25th May. And you make payment to me on 1st June. Now, time of supply, they say, is very easy for goods. Time of supply is date of issue of invoice or the last date when invoice should have been issued, whichever is earlier. So, do you agree with me that section 12, you have to connect with section 31? Yes, because time of supply is what? In case of goods, date of issue of invoice or the last date when invoice should have been issued as per section 31. Getting the point? So, according to section 31, when invoice should be issued for goods where movement of goods is involved, invoice should be issued before or at the time of removal of goods. Snehita, 30 days is for services. Within 30 days is for services. I thought someone would tell me this point. No. Where supply involves movement of goods, it should be issued before or at the time of removal of goods. Perfect. And where supply does not involve movement of goods, when the goods are made available to the recipient. When the goods are made available to the recipient, actually. Now, listen. So in our example, what is the time of supply? On 20 May, I dispatched the goods. And I made invoice on, say, 23rd May. So will you take 20 May or 23rd May? You should take 20 May. That is the date of issue of invoice, 23rd May, or the due date of issue of invoice. That due date of issue of invoice was at the time of removal. That is 20 May. So is the point very clear to all of you? Don't mix up time limits for goods and services for issuing invoice. Okay. Then, and you don't have to worry about date of receipt of payment. Okay. In case of this 12 subsection 2, you have to forget about date of receipt of payment. Okay. Because of that notification 66 by 2017. So if you forget that, it's still okay. Then, if we talk about 13 subsection 3, which is for services, forward charge mechanism for services, then within how many days am I supposed to issue invoice in case of services? Within 30 days from the date of provision of service. Now understand, if I comply with this norm of government of issuing service within 30 days, then government says, fantastic, you can take time of supply as date of issue of invoice. You can take time of supply as date of issue of invoice. But what, see, one more thing you should keep in mind. Here, time of supply will be date of issue of invoice or date of receipt of payment, whichever is earlier. Getting the point? But in case if you are not complying with the government norm of issuing invoice within 30 days, then government says if you are not complying with our norm of issuing invoice within 30 days, and if you have issued the invoice after 30 days, then we will not accept that date. Then time of supply will be date of provision of service or date of receipt of payment, whichever is earlier. In both the cases, you must have seen date of receipt of payment is the common point. Clear? And yes, for banking services, this 30 days gets replaced by 45 days. For banking, and actually I found out for insurance also, 45 days. This is all given in the section 31, read with relevant rules. Clear? And you know, some other cases when invoice should be issued are discussed in section 31. Okay, please go through that as well. We have discussed them in section 31. Some unusual cases like goods are removed but before supply, because goods are removed on sale or approval or return basis. Correct? So in such cases, you know when to make invoice. In such cases, they have said invoice should be made at the time of supply or within 6 months, whichever is earlier, within 6 months from removal, whichever is earlier. Or there are other cases like continuous supply of goods, continuous supply of services. Okay. Listen. Good, good, good. I hope you got these things. Yes. There is a proviso in 13 subsection 3. That proviso is that if small amount of advance is received, Tejas sir, if small amount of advance is received against an invoice, what is that small amount? Small amount is up to rupees 1000. So if a petty advance up to rupees 1000 is received, then at the option of the supplier, time of supply for that advance could be the future date when invoice against such advance is made. Clear? Did you understand? Fantastic. Now listen. If this is clear, next listen. Subsection 12, sorry, subsection 13, subsection 2 had this provision. I think I by mistake said subsection 3. But actually 13 subsection 2 has this provision. 2. Right now we are discussing 2, no? Yes. Clear, no? Huh. Now, 12 subsection 3 is what? 12 subsection 3 is reverse charge mechanism for goods. Yes, it is RCM for goods. Yes, fantastic. In that case, what is the time of supply? So who is supposed to pay GST in this case? Is it supplier or is it recipient of supply? It is recipient of supply who is liable to pay GST in this case, isn't it? So listen, what will be the time of supply? It will be the date of receipt of goods, okay, or date of making payment to the supplier, because as a recipient of supply, I'm making payment, correct? Or the date immediately following 30 days from the date of invoice. Out of these three, whichever is earlier. Did you understand? So in short, 31st day from the invoice. Did you get it? Yes or no? And if we are talking about reverse charge mechanism for services, that means, see, company has given a service to director has given a service to company of professional services. Who is liable to pay GST? Company. When will they pay? They will pay GST at the time of making payment. So Vishwanath, when this company will make payment to the director, at that time GST on that becomes payable. That becomes the time of supply. So that date, or government will wait for 60 days for this event to happen. But if recipient of supply is not paying to the supplier within 60 days, then government will say the day immediately following 60 days from the date of invoice. So in short, in this case, time of supply becomes date of making payment to the supplier, or day immediately following 60 days from the date of invoice. Out of this two, whichever is earlier. Is the point very clear to all of you? Yes. And mind you, whenever I am saying date of making payment, then in that, what is the date of making payment? Date of making payment is date of entry of such payment in the books of accounts of recipient of supply, or date of debit in the bank account, whichever is earlier. No, Snehita, in this case, when I'm talking about making payment, then my bank account will be debited. No? Clear? Don't learn these things. They are very obvious. When as a recipient of supply, I'm making payment, then my bank account will be debited. And if I talk about uh, date of receipt of payment for that 12 subsection 2 and 13 subsection 2 purpose, actually 13 subsection 2 purpose. Yes, then Snehita, that is not the correct way of remembering this thing. Forward charges credit, don't remember right like that. There's no need to take a long cut. In forward charge, what happens is, in forward charge for services, what is happening is date of issue of invoice or date of receipt of payment, whichever is earlier, isn't it? Now, date of receipt of payment, when I say, then what is the date of receipt of payment? That date of receipt of payment is date when such amount received is entered in the books of accounts. That day. Or the date when bank account gets credited, whichever is earlier. Got it, Snehita? So what happens, Snehita? If you sell me the goods and there is a, if you uh, give me services, mind you, if you give me services, then Snehita, if you give me some professional services, I will pay you. Correct? So you will receive means in your bank account, what will be the effect? Your bank account will get debited or credited? Away, Snehita, your bank account will get credited. That's what I thought, that you are confused with this. So I thought about clarifying it. Got it, no? Bank account. That is passbook. Yes, very good. Chalo, no problem, no problem. If I ask you like this, so on the spot, of course, you will get confused. See, Kishan is asking one question to me, that in case we pay electricity bills and pay in excess, which is below 1000, that is adjusted in the next bill. Is the understanding correct? I am afraid, Kishan, that is not the correct interpretation. First of all, the example is bit incorrect. Why? On electricity, there is no GST. That is one example. That is first thing. Secondly, how it is that proviso of 1000? Let me explain you. What happened, Kishan, is you are taking services of Vodafone. You're taking services of Vodafone. Got it? For the month of May, you got bill on, say, 1st June. For the month of May, you got bill on 1st June. In May month, you got bill of 1,956 rupees. How much bill you got for the May month of Vodafone Telecom? 1956. Now you forgot this figure and in a hurry, you paid a bill of 2,000 rupees. So has Vodafone as a supplier of service received advance? How much advance they have received in the month of June? How much? 2,000 minus 1956, 44 rupees. So do Vodafone company has to pay GST on this advance immediately in the month of June? Kishan, do Vodafone has to pay immediately GST? No. At the option of Vodafone, on this 44 rupees, they can pay GST at the time of next invoice. At the time of next invoice, it will get due. When will next invoice be made? Next invoice will be made in the month of July in our example. So time of supply for that 44 rupees, can it be taken as July? Absolutely. Because say July's bill is 2,100. Say July's bill is 2,100 and Kishan you pay exactly 2,100. So automatically that 40. Now actually you will not pay 2,100. You will pay 2,056. Correct? Because last month you had paid 44 rupees extra. So now in the month of July, automatically Vodafone company will pay GST on 2,100. Getting it? That is this times 2,056 which you paid plus last times 44. Is the point clear, Kishan? Yes. So they need not worry to pay about GST on small amounts which are extra paid by the customer. They can carry forward payment of GST on that to the next bill. Sure. Fantastic. Fantastic. Good that you asked it. I mean, no. What? You should not say sorry for these things. Okay. This is your, what you can say. This is what you are supposed to do. You're supposed to ask your doubts. Okay. I'm always happy solving everyone's doubts. Okay. See, clear, na? Now see, subsection 4 to we have revised. There is a proviso to subsection 3 of section 13. What is the proviso? Proviso is that if any service is received by Indian entity from associated entity outside India, then this Indian entity is liable to pay GST on reverse charge basis. In this case, you will not follow that 61st day criteria. You will not follow date of making payment or 61st day criteria. What you will do is you will identify time of supply as earlier of following two. What two? Date of making payment or the date of entry of expenses in the books of accounts of recipient of supply. Out of this two, whichever is earlier. Getting the point? I'm not talking about date of entry of payment. I'm talking about date of entry of expenses. Is it clear to all of you? See, what happened is I have an associated entity, LMN. I have an associated entity, LMN, outside India. You know definition of associated entity. We have just done it in the international tax. That same definition. What happened is you received a service from them. That service is worth rupees 1 lakh. Now, who is liable to pay GST? I am liable to pay GST on reverse charge basis. Point is, what is the time of supply? Time of supply will be when I record that 1 lakh rupees as expense in my books, or when I pay them the money, whichever is earlier. Clear with the point? Yes, very good. Chalo, so we have covered all subsections in section 12 as well as section 13. So you can read it in detail here. Okay. I'll not again go through it, of course. But I would like to take this example to test your understanding. Okay. And to make you realize few things, I will surely like to take this example. So pay attention. This is again from CA final. And I think similar was asked in last exam. Let's see. Determine time of supply from information given below. 6th May, booking of convention hall, it should be a CONV. Booking of convention hall for 15,000, where advance is 3,000. Okay. So on 6th May, hall is booked. Suppose one of you have decided to marry and your wedding is there, and on 6th May, you book the hall by giving 3,000 rupees. Okay, no, it's not a marriage hall. It's a small hall. Okay. So it is suppose some small function at your home and you have booked the hall on 6th May. And on 6th May, you paid an advance of 3,000. Okay. Assume they are normal times, not this COVID times. On 15th September, function is held. On 27th October, invoice is issued. And on 3rd November, balance payment is received. So you have to tell me what is the time of supply. First of all, do you agree with me that there will be two different time of supplies? Do you agree with yes? Because value is split. Are we talking about section 12 or section 13? We are talking about section 13 because we are talking about services. Very good, very good. With respect to this 3,000 rupees, with respect to this 3,000 rupees, when is the amount received? 6th May. So 6th May will be time of supply. Because time of supply had to be, is invoice issued within time? On 15th September, function took place. Means 15th September is provision of service. Because that's why we couldn't explain you what exactly is provision of service. Because in every case, provision of service will change. For CS, the provision of service will be filing of some return. Okay. For architect, provision of service will be submitting of the drawings. Okay. So for every type of service, provision of service will change. Okay. Now, did you understand this point of 15th? So is it within 30 days? It is not within 30 days. Very good. So what will be time of supply? Time of supply will be date of completion of service or date of receipt of payment, whichever is earlier. So for 3,000, it will be 6th May. Yes or no? Very good. And for 12,000 rupees received on 3rd May, what it will be? Sorry, received on 3rd November, what it will be? It will be 15th September or 3rd November, whichever is earlier. So 15th September. Are you getting it? This is highest level of question for section 13, subsection 2. Clear? You can go through the solution. Yes. Now go through this second. Messrs V, a registered company under GST, is liable to pay GST under forward charge mechanism. Determine time of supply from following information furnished by it. Goods were supplied on 3rd October. Invoice was issued on 5th October. Payment was received on 9th October. We are talking about goods. So which section? 12 subsection 2. Very good. Time of supply will be date of issue of invoice, that is 5th October, or the date when the invoice should have been issued, that is 3rd October, whichever is earlier. Blacklist this point. This point is not at all important. Neglect that point. So final answer is 3rd October. Check. Are you getting it? So will you be able to handle it? Of course, tomorrow we will do section 14. Section 14 is where there is change in rate of GST. Yes, fantastic, fantastic. What was our agenda? Are we on the track? Let us check. Basics of GST we have done. What happens, especially revision batch takes a lot of energy. And revision batch like this means I'm not dictating you anything slowly. I'm not making you write anything. So constantly, I have to speak, So, and also think and speak. So this takes a lot of energy. So I decided, okay, we have time also. Let us do it for only 1.5 hours a day. Okay. I hope you're following all the things and it is happening effectively. It will go on till 31st, not 31st May, sorry, not your batch. Your batch to will get over only. That FM is going to go till 31st May. Yours to will get over. Already 4.5 sessions done. Okay. So basics of GST done. Valuation done. Place of supply remaining. Scope of supply and exemptions I will consider done from my side in revision batch. Time of supply done. Done with respect to this 12, 13. 14th we will do. Yes. So tomorrow's agenda will be place of supply. Tomorrow's agenda will be place of supply and section 14 of CGST Act. Clear? Will we be able to cover that in 1.5 hours easily? We will be able to cover it in 1.5 hours. Don't worry. Yes, very good. Yes. Okay, scope of supply and exemptions under GST also done. No? Yes. So what is not done is in not bold. So this is yet to be done, place of supply and one part of time of supply. That will be in tomorrow's half of the session. That is tomorrow's 1.5 hours. Okay? Are you comfortable with this time? 8:30 to 10? Maybe post dinner, because what was happening is 7 to 8:30 means dinner times only get affected. Yes. Clear? How many of you have already watched valuation of GST rules? I'm talking especially for revision batch students. You have already watched. Apurva, very good. Revati also, Mansi also, very good, very good. Acha, I will ask now question like this. How many of you yet to watch. Acha, you have two videos. Last one is left. Okay. So please, Mayank, I mean Priyanka, na, complete it. Tejas, it is not an executive, so it's optional for you. Harshal, complete it. Please do it. Okay. Never ever avoid that GST rules. Huh? Don't avoid that. Acha, what about status about exemption? Exemptions under GST. Yes. Please do it. It is my responsibility to make you aware of that. Clear? I will take, anyways, 12 minutes are remaining. Anyways, 12 minutes are remaining. I will take that opportunity to, in 1 minute, go through the drive and show you. Because if you are not aware of it, then it will become difficult. So this lecture is also getting recorded. So even those who are watching recordings will understand this. Where is the drive? Drive. In the drive, you will be having access to this folder. Where is that folder? You will be having access to this folder. No, wait. This is the main batch. For main batch students also, you are getting the recordings in the drive of the revision batch. You know, na? Yes, no? Many facilities we are providing. You should be aware of those facilities. What I said, main batch students are getting recordings of revision batch in the Google Drive. Be aware of that. I come to this ART batch. In this ART batch, you can see just must do's. First of all, in this ART batch, revision is getting recorded here. You're getting recordings of revision here. Clear, na? Okay. And any session which we are uploading on YouTube, which is important for you, that also we are putting here. Getting it? Only thing is its name should be changed here. It is paper discussion. It is changed. See, it is not session 5. It is not session 5. Okay. Session 5 should be deleted. It is paper discussion. Okay. Anyways, so this is recording of revision batch. Plus you should not miss. So we are giving you all YouTube links also. And in just must do's, you have this valuation under GST folder. In that you have got sessions or lectures. There are 3 lectures. Watch them. And there is this PDF. That is the questions, notes, you can say. And exemptions and scope of supply. This is section 11. Notes are there here. And here are the lectures. There are how many lectures? 4 lectures. Getting it? So I have ensured that, even if you're doing revision batch, you don't miss out on these things. Clear? Is it clear to all of you? The instruction? Yes. Fine then. For today, we are doing this much only. Tomorrow, we will do those remaining 2 things at 8:30 only. Chalo. So thank you very much. Take very good care of yourself. And good night.